Hello, wonderful young scholars. This is Rhonda Kitchens. I want to help you find some of the articles you need for your assignments. Again, my name is Rhonda Kitchens. I'm your librarian. I want to make sure you know how to get to the library. You should have links in Canvas, but if you don't, if you go to academics on bigbend.edu and click on library, this is where you'll be. For this piece, I will have your class guide down here, but hopefully you're seeing that. But I'm going to talk about library catalog and databases A to Z. I'm going to go into the library catalog first. The library catalog is the books that are in the library right now, which, by the way, if you need a book in the library, all you have to do is call us or email us and we'll be able to get it to you. Kind of have a drive-through situation working, so if you need one of those books, let us know. As far as I know, for this particular assignment, you primarily are looking for articles. So when you open up the library catalog, go over here and select articles. I'm going to be using the benefits of education as an example today. When we're using these words, there are alternate words and different ways to search them. But I'm going to start out really big. That's usually what I do when I do research. I start out really big. I start collecting keywords and ways of expressing those keywords, which we'll talk about. And then I go a little bit smaller as I go along. Right now I'm going to look for education. I want to try benefits. It's kind of a general word. I don't know if it's the professional word or the right word, but I'm using the library catalog, so I'm searching the books plus about 20 of our 120 databases. Just to let you know, this search is not everything. I think at this point it's probably 10% of the library's actual holdings. So make sure you understand that when you're doing this. If this search fails for you, you just need to go to databases A to Z, which I'll demonstrate. And it doesn't mean that you've searched everything. So I just want to let you know that. So when we go down here, we'll have search results. These search results don't have a lot of detail. And when I say that, I mean we can't see how many page numbers it is. This is letting us know it's peer reviewed, which is awesome. So here it lets me know it's available online. So I can click on this. It's going to take me into the record. Each record, let me bring this up, will have a citation suggestion. Make sure you copy and correct it. That should also be available in the actual places online and available. Now when you click on this, you have some options. In this case it doesn't matter, but some have more years or less years or different. Or you might decide, you know, my topic also has to do with professional development, or it also has to do with some philosophical content, or in this case psychology or behavior. Why don't you go ahead and go into that one so you can keep doing different types of research while you're there. But if not, this one is a general cross-disciplinary database and it's a pretty good one to select. So when we go out here, it's going to take us into those sections where the databases are listed, databases A to Z. See, it used kind of a number it had in the library catalog to come over, but it's actually Academic Search Premier, which you can get to on its own without having to go through the library catalog process. The library catalog process is really good if you don't know what database to use. You still haven't got all your keywords together, and you may not have narrowed down your topic. So here we're going to get some idea about some keywords. You can go through the subject terms, and what I'll find here is sometimes education is called more specifically higher education when we're talking about the attaining of degrees and how they may benefit you in the future, and also higher education. So I would write those down on my keyword list, and yes, I actually keep one of those. And we see the author supplied some keywords. We already have post-secondary. But here, if we look at this in a specific way, this article tells us, is talking about, does higher education give us specific benefits? So if you're working on this topic and you're trying to find benefits, the value of this article is it gives you a line of thought. Like, oh, people who attain higher education go back and give to their communities, and start trying to find articles and ideas like this. And if you look at volunteering, human capital, civic outcomes, charitable donations, these kind of give you some ideas of keywords to include in searches that you do about that line of thought. So you can go over here, and of course if you go down you can read it in total in HTML. The PDF is the actual image of the article, which sometimes has benefits because this one does have some graphs. And over here to the right you can put this in your Google Drive if you'd like, email, save, or cite it. So if you click on Cite, it's going to bring up that magnificent area that I always want to remind you to copy and correct. And we're going to go here to MLA, and you would take this and copy it and correct it for your paper. So I hope that makes sense. While we are in the database, we got to the database through the library catalog. So in this, we're going to go back to our search results, and I'm going to a second one just so you see what it looks like. Available online. This talks about perhaps the dubious benefits of education. Let's go into it. We have a bunch of things that we could look at. The two broad ones here, if you're looking for a general thing, is Academic Search Premier, and Research Library is also called ProQuest. So I'm just going to take this one since I'm already slightly familiar with this database, because you could actually develop a bias between database publishers. When I say database publishers, when I'm saying EBSCO, or if I'm saying ProQuest and things like that, what I'm actually saying is Netflix, Hulu. These are digital collections of objects. Sometimes they do have an overlap or are somewhat the same. Sometimes they're very different. What a EBSCO database does, what a ProQuest database does, is slightly different. ProQuest was more of a Netflix. Sometimes it suggests what you should be looking at, and EBSCO is like something that you like to use if you're doing true crime, because you can keep changing things as you go along. So I'm here to the full text of the item I found from the library catalog. I'm going to look at it. Let's see if it has anything to do. It talks about research funding, and I'm reading the abstract, and it really has absolutely nothing to do with my topic. Though you'd think economic impact might, but it doesn't. It's not a search with higher education or some of the other keywords I found. So this was a library catalog fail. But if I'm here and I want to change this, I could just start doing my research here and bring in education, higher education, and things like that. So it's not a dead end. Sometimes it just launches you into a fertile area. So you can keep going through these items, and you'll see maybe not all of them are going to be perfect, and you'll have to keep changing your keywords and tuning up your approach. And remember, this is the library catalog. If you search for articles here, you're not searching everything. And again, if you need a print book, you can certainly write us or call us about it, and we'll pull it for you. Now I'm going to leave this particular universe and take you to databases A to Z. Okay, our databases A to Z. Here you're going to have a strategy. This is the fails mostly. See, as I see students, I went in and changed these. I even put them in capital letters. They go over here and they do a search for their topic. Is a database title search. It will pick up some keywords only because I put them there, but it does not cover every piece of text in that database. It's a very fragile tool at best, and will help you find the title of something. The titles are also alphabetized, sorry about that, A to Z. So you can also just look for them alphabetically. I would take two strategies when I look at this, because right now, and I'm still working on it, we have 131 databases. If you go to University of Washington or one of the larger places, you have 600 and 750 ones. So this strategy I'm about to show you has a great deal of importance. You usually have some very big general cross-disciplinary databases. In this case, our general ones will be Academic Search Premier, which is an EBSCO database. Again, when I say EBSCO, I'm talking about the publisher. It's no different than, say, thinking about Hulu versus Amazon Prime versus Netflix. There are differences. They look different. They do different things. They don't. You have to sometimes look at all of them because they don't have an entire overlap, but they have digital objects you can find by searching and using different types of browsing and search parameters. That's very simply what a database is, except these are going to bring us up scholarly articles, magazine articles, and other things, and some of them are actually multimedia. This one so much isn't. But if you're looking through our three biggie cross-disciplinary ones, fortunately Academic OneFile is here, Academic Search Premier is here, and ProQuest, you would have to go under P to find ProQuest. So in order of their importance, or what might likely help you I would say ProQuest, Academic Search Premier, and Academic OneFile. Unfortunately, Academic OneFile is first alphabetically, and some people get lost and think that the library doesn't have awesome things when there's 130 other awesome things. So I'm going to go to Academic Search Premier now. We've already visited it earlier through the library catalog, but here we could search it and find a search form, and it has all sorts of things that you can use. I advocate going in and using the broadest ways, but when you work on the EBSCO databases in nursing and the medical sciences and places like that, this could be quite specific. You could even only look for non-human subjects and kind of break down the ages of the subjects. You can do wonderful things, but here it's just going to get us going. We're going to go in for that general search. I'm going to put in education. Do you see how it started giving me different ideas? This is a list of keywords. They're already being generated by this particular database. You can hit this and search all of them together. Do you see how they're separated by OR? Actually, in the case of OR, that means they're included. With this search database, you can use Boolean logic really easy. That's at and, not, and or. The and makes sure that you find education and benefits. I'm going to go ahead and type that in. And the or would be that line that we just saw, education, training, or. So what you can do is search things that are synonyms like marketing, or branding, or advertising. So not if you want to get rid of something. If there's, I noticed there were a lot of things from China on a specific topic, and I wanted something more United States, so I put not China, and I got rid of those. So sometimes you'll see something in your search, you don't know why it's there. The not way is the way to get rid of it. So I'm going to go in, and this again is a very blousy, big thing. I'm very surprised it fixed my spelling for me. Oftentimes when you have no search results, that means that you spelled it incorrectly. So did you see what this particular database did as well as I'm typing? It gave me the opportunity to look for these. I'm going to take them off for now because I want us to improve a little bit more organically. But as a beginning researcher, those things are so awesome. And who am I kidding? As an experienced researcher, that is so very awesome. It just saves you time to have to think all of these different keywords and ways to approach it. So I am here, but I very definitely want to have full text. So I select that over here. If I look at my rubric or my assignment, it says you want a scholarly article. This particular selection would get you scholarly journals. I have on the library site how to identify a scholarly article, because usually it's in parts. Sometimes your professor may say no, this, that, or the other, and we can definitely help you tune up the search. But just remember, this is a search for scholarly journals. The articles that come up can still be a letter from the editor or other things. So if this is in your rubric or it's the type of approach you need, go ahead and select this. Underneath, you can pick date. I'm not sure it's been specified in your particular assignment. For this topic, the benefits of education, probably 5 years back would be okay. But if you do have questions, ask your professor. So we can see here, this says how to build a best-in-class education benefits program. Not our search topic. Benefit for working parents. Absolutely not our topic. Weekly debates on benefits. Wow. Do you see what's going wrong here? Benefits sort of worked in the library catalog, but here it's really going off wrong. And education isn't really working right for us either. So let's switch this up. We saw where higher education had some value. We're going to get rid of benefits, but let's kind of think about it again. Let's say we're really looking at educational attainment. Do you see all the options you have here? Let's just start. Educational attainment or achievement. Those are both good ways to go. Now we can see a search that talks about people breaking out of certain things, class constraints, and that's an excellent place. Remember how in the library catalog we found we found an article on how people who have greater educational attainment sometimes may be better civic minded or more civic minded or civic minded leaders. In this case, we see educational attainment has something to do with socioeconomics and one's movement in class and that type of thing. So here we could put in that as a way to narrow down the topic and flesh out one of our lines of thoughts or narrow down our topic. So your search really never ends here. You can't really fail at a search because here and in the other databases, what you do is you keep working on it to find the thing that you need. And once you get some things that are coming together, you can start looking through the subjects and hashing those out. You can go into the actual article and you'll see author supplied keywords and other things of that nature that will help you. Keep feeding into your search. Your first search should be really broad, and then you tighten it up with the ideas that you find. Sometimes it may also require you to change your search question. So keep that in mind as well. And that's something to discuss with your professor. I'm back here with databases A to Z, and I'm going to take you to ProQuest. ProQuest is under P alphabetically. ProQuest, broad, general, cross-disciplinary coverage. I'm going to go into here, and I will put in, I have figured out educational attainment is the place that where I'm getting the best possible pieces. I could put in different words here, but I'm going to select full text. I'm not going to select peer reviewed unless that's on my rubric or that's the type of information I want to work with. I'll go here and have my search results. And here I want to offer to you, and this is really weird, I almost never in ProQuest, the first 10 search results are usually, for me, on some of the work I've done, not actually that relevant. You know how sometimes in Google you don't go past the first 5 or 10? It's actually very useful in ProQuest to go past that. Here you can make some other selections, like if you just want newspaper articles, or which are really great at explaining different ideas and bringing different ideas together. It's a secondary resource. And pick newspapers only if you need something that's really often that might have been happening locally or in the past few weeks or a day. And here I'm going to pick a custom range of the last 5 years. Again, on the left-hand side, you have those wonderful limiters where you can make different sorts of ideas. Children's educational attainment. I'm just going to go through these really fast. Oh, apparently there's some sort of relationship between educational attainment and smoking or other preventative medicine measures. And I bring this up because if we're working on the topic of educational attainment, we wanted to talk about the benefits. We found, first of all, persons may be more civic minded. Second of all, we found something else in the last piece that was good. Oh, class. It gives movement between the class structure and breaks down some of those barriers. And finally, here we find out people who have a higher educational attainment sometimes may make better decisions in terms of preventative medicine. So these have all been very useful. They might have not been on the topic we began with, but they began fleshing out our topic and giving us some areas to focus on or reject or different words to use or narrow down. Now, this ProQuest I referred to is kind of Netflix because if you found one article and you loved it, it wants to let you know about the others. So on the right-hand side, it has these related items. It'll also give you search subjects for you to look at. Other search subjects will also be in the abstract and details sometimes. Sometimes this is not true, but sometimes down here in this section there's a really, really big list. So also there's a cite button. If you click on this, you can select MLA and copy and correct that citation. So this is also very powerful. So probably if you went through the library catalog, you used Academic Search Premier, and then you went to use ProQuest, between the words and the ideas and the approaches, you really should be at a pretty sound point and have found some really good articles at this point, I am hoping. Your other option is this. Databases A to Z also has this section. If you drop it down, and it gives you the databases, let's go to education. It's going to give you the databases that are most likely, let me clear the filters because it thinks I'm still looking at just P for ProQuest. And I have 18 things to look at. As a librarian, I try to put up the top ones. You could have used these to do the search, and you can take the keywords you used from academic one file, because I want to make sure you do see the broad general places, but you have other places that you could look as well that would give you different points of view on education and perhaps educational attainment. So I'm going to wrap up here. If all this made sense to you, the 20-minute point is a great time to leave. If I said some things that were like, hey, I really need to understand this better, hey, stick here and I'm going to explain those things to you. Again, my name is Rhonda Kitchens. This is my address. You can reach out to me anytime you want to do so. I'm going to go again, like what is a database, what's in it, keywords, truncation, phrase searching, and Boolean logic, and then I'm going to go through a flow chart of what I just explained. Now, anatomy of a database is simply something you use every day. So when you see A to Z, we have 130 databases. Do not be afraid. You do this all the time. You've been doing it a lot lately. Netflix, Hulu, Pluto, Audible, Podcast, Apple Podcasts, these are databases. They all contain these specific things. So when you see Gale, ProQuest, EBSCO, or Primo, it's the same idea. They just might have newspaper articles. They may have everything. They may have just audio things. And they may have different approaches, but essentially they do different things. And to use them all does help you have a richer understanding of life. Just like having Netflix, Hulu, and Pluto. And some of them are more awesome. Pluto has so much free stuff, but can you get to it? Are you able to browse it? Can you find it? That's kind of like maybe Google. Netflix is kind of like our ProQuest database. It is rich and it is so involved in what you're doing, it even tells you what you should do next or read next. So make sure you understand there's a difference in these, and it's usually based on what the publisher is. I talked very rapidly about search tricks, but some of these things can really turn around some research, such as truncation. Remember when I was using education? I really messed up there. I could have used it much better. I could put education with an asterisk. I would get educational and a variety of other suffixes. For instance, if you're doing work on trauma and you back it up to the most common letter, you can find things like trauma, traumatizing, traumatic, all with one search. Another thing to do when you're doing a phrase search, and I should have demonstrated this with higher education, by putting higher education in quotes, I'd improve my search so much very rapidly, because it's not looking for a word over here, over there. It's looking for the word together, which is how I'm using it. Very important. I also talked about Boolean searching, the and, or not. I like these circles because they really tell you what I am saying. The and means we're just going to find the things where these two things overlap. The or is a place we're using synonyms. We're trying to just use this one search to cover more ground. Remember, we were looking at education, training, and other things, which, by the way, doesn't work for all disciplines. So look at those or construct your own. Again, marketing or advertising or branding. Well, certainly these words didn't start out meaning kind of the same things. As of now, that's how we use them, and that's how you would capture that information. And not is when you need to get rid of something in your search. If it's just really junking it up and making it less precise, this helps you out. So in all the things that I showed you, these pieces can come into play. And finally, let's think about the search strategy I gave you. You could do this different ways, and as time goes on, your way of doing this is going to change. At some point, you're going to have your favorite database. Does it have search strategy up there? Yes. You're going to have your favorite database, like I do, or your favorite database publisher. Right now, you're like, no, Rhonda, I have a life. Well, true. But it's when you start working on your doctorate degree, and yes, you will, these things are going to be very important to you, and you're going to find your favorites. But as you grow, I would suggest this. Develop your keyword and keyword strategies as you go along. I really seriously write them down. And that way, when you write them down, you also can truncate them better because you see them in a row. And when you see the phrases, you can go ahead and put quotes around them to search them as a phrase. At first, you'll think this is kind of wonky and ridiculous, but you'll start doing it like almost without even thinking about it. And it's going to help you out so much. I start out with the search. I search the library catalog. I can select it to just look for articles, or I can look for everything if I want to do that. And it's broad, but I have to remember, I don't care if you're in Harvard or here, The library catalog does not search everything. It cannot get down to the keyword word by word level that a database can and does. So make sure you keep that in mind. If the library catalog fails you, you go to next. In our case, it's databases A to Z, which also happens to be true for Harvard. So these are actually skills that will help you forever. Now, use your search to find other keywords or ideas for narrowing down your topic or looking for different aspects of your query. Maybe you haven't developed things to support your topic or understand what better means. If you say something is beneficial, you need to perhaps have things that say it's beneficial, and a few things that may say benefits are dubious, as we saw in that one article. So I recommend once you deplane for the library catalog and do the article search, go to the big cross-disciplinary databases. And here, in some cases, many places you go, Academic Search Premier, ProQuest, and Academic OneFile are those monster searches. They cover everything from astronomy to zoology so that you have a greater likelihood to find things that you need, harvest more keywords, find more subtopics, and yes, find similar articles. And if this should fail, please see your instructor or librarian. We are glad to talk to you. Secondarily, go to databases A to Z. You can also do the database search by subject. There's a best bet on every list. The thing about the subjects are they're really big. They're not going to say global warming. They might say environment. So make sure you go through and see if there might be something that'll work for you and select that. Now, when you're in there and you're in these sometimes more specific databases, if there's a publication that keeps coming up with great information, you can search inside of that publication. It should be clear that you can click on it from there, but if not, hey, ask your librarian. I would be glad to show you this particular form of search. And finally, everything's gone. You've spent hours searching, which by the way, you shouldn't have. Probably 15 minutes or less, I would expect you to get to something. And then if you use these techniques of harvesting the keywords, looking at the subtopics, finding similar articles, you're going to be in a great spot. But have these things failed, it is likely not you. Sometimes you've spelled the words wrong. Sometimes you've selected the wrong words. And finally, you may have selected the wrong database. These are the things where you reach out and ask your librarian to help. And this is true whether you're here right now at Big Bend Community College or if you're away at Harvard. When you hit that brick wall, when your search isn't working, number one, it's not you, it's the search. Let's figure out what that is. And I'd love to work with you. I can work with you by phone, by email, or by Zoom. Just reach out to me. And I hope you have a great day, and I hope this project is brilliant.